Welcome back to the program, folks. Thanks so much for being with us. Really appreciate it. It's always great to have the privilege to talk to you this morning. What a welcome back. We've got Mr. Dan Perkins is with us. He has got a lot of experience. Unlike Hunter Biden, he's got experience in the energy sector. And he's also an author. We've talked about his books many times. Brotherhood of the Red Nile trilogy. Dan, how are you this morning?
I'm fine, and just as a point of reference, I've been in the energy business longer than Hunter Biden's been alive.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Right. I'm sure you would love to make $80,000 a month. Maybe not for a Ukrainian gas company, but still, I mean, who wouldn't want to do that?
Absolutely.
So, hey, what can you tell me about this situation? I got this article here, and this is kind of outside of my wheelhouse here, but Alberta in Canada, are they trying to go are they trying to be independent from Canada? Did I hear something about that?
Yes. In fact, it's Quebec does it periodically. The Canadian provinces. I maybe it's the weed they're smoking. I don't know for sure, but they get these burrs under their saddle every once in a while where they don't like the government, in this case Trudeau in Ottawa, and well, we got to get out of here because this is not what we believe or not what we want to do, and they rattle their sabers about leaving the country and creating a new nation, and hopefully the rest of Canada will break up into smaller nations, but generally to no avail. A lot of bluster, but nothing ever really happens.
Yeah, I've got this Wexit. This is a new movement. Wexit, make Alberta great again. Alberta's frustration fuels push for independence from Canada. This is nuts. I had no idea.
Well, it's an interesting. If you go back to the original, go back to Brexit. Look at Brexit, but look at it from the standpoint of the British people, who over 3 years ago said they had enough of the European Union overlord control over their country. And 60% of the laws that are on the books in Great Britain are dictated by Brussels bureaucrats who were never elected by anybody in England. And they said they wanted to leave. And look how hard it's been for them to leave. They have a legitimate grievance, yet the elites in Britain are doing everything they can to prevent it from happening. They don't want to believe that the British people are smart enough to make that decision, so they have to make it for them. And it's just what's going on in the United States. We've got a group of elite people. We saw them testify for the last 2 weeks before Congress. We now know, and we can see the face of the deep state in the United States. And it's not real pretty. I mean, if you watched any of the hearings, what you heard were a group of bureaucrats who decided that they didn't like the idea that Donald Trump was going to establish foreign policy without them. Mm-hmm. And they've been doing it for such a long period of time. They actually believed they were in control. And we had another situation where the deep state tried to assert itself again, and that was the Navy SEAL, who the president pardoned and reinstated. And after the president had said, this is what we're going to do, we're going to reinstate his rank, give him his trident back, and we had the Secretary of the Navy and a two-star admiral decided that they wanted to have another inquiry to go around what the president has said. And I was talking to two retired military naval officers. One was a two-star admiral. He absolutely disagreed with what the Secretary of the Navy and the admiral was doing. The other one wasn't so sure that the president should make the decision. And I said, wait a minute. I served. I wasn't an officer like you two were. I was basically an infantry grunt. but there's a chain of command, and the chain of command ends at the President of the United States because by the Constitution, he is the commander-in-chief. And they, again, the deep state in the military, which I knew existed, but they were so blatant about it, they decided they didn't agree with the president, and so they were going to take it on their own to try and overturn what the president did. And so we have examples in our country and in England where the elites, the deep state, if you would, is still hanging on to try and make sure that they control the decisions that are made in the country, not the people, and not the people who we elect to do the job.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Dan, and it really makes me think that I mean, and I guess it was Attorney General Barr said this. Everybody in the media says that it's the president that's shredding norms, but it's actually the deep state because they have never acted this way. Whether it's when a new president comes in, a Republican or Democrat, they've never behaved in this way. Now, I actually think the president is draining the swamp, and this is the reaction that you're seeing, across the globe. I think the fact that we went into this impeachment really doesn't have much to do with the Bidens as much as it has to do with the president wanting to expose all of them, not investigate just the Bidens. But if you're investigating 2016 and CrowdStrike and the Democrat servers, you're actually investigating the entire Democrat Party. And that's why they're freaking out, because they've got so much to lose if they're exposed.
I absolutely, totally agree with you. I think that the message that is getting through in spite of the mainstream media, they're trying to say that because Donald Trump asked the Ukraine government to tell them anything they can about the influence that was brought by the Ukrainian government against him and in the 2016 election, that's going after his political opponent. No. I wrote a piece, it's not out yet, but it should be out the next day or so. And, the president takes an oath to protect and defend the Constitution. Everybody else in the government takes another oath that says that they will protect and defend the Constitution against foes, foreign and domestic. And so what we have is a situation where the president of the United States is asking to find out to what extent that the Ukrainian government was involved in illegal activity in the 2016 election. And the Democrats are saying that's asking a foreign government to investigate his political rival. But if we believe that they were involved, who else can we get to get that information except for the government itself? So the Democrats are covering up and trying to distract the American people from what Donald Trump is trying to do, and that is find out what the hell happened and who was involved and how high did it go up the chain of command for the activities that took place in the 2016 and 17 as far as spying and invasion into the privacy of American citizens and political campaigns. And I think he has every right to do that. If he didn't do that, I would think he would be dereliction of duty and should be impeached for that. So,
yeah.
But the Democrats don't want to go there because you're right. The Democrats do not want to expose what an investigation will expose.
Can I get your comments? We're talking with Dan Perkins. Can I get your comments on the situation? The president was asked by Bill O'Reilly yesterday, hey, are you going to designate Mexico, or the cartels rather, as terrorist organizations? And he said yes. What's the fallout from all of that? What's that going to enable us to do that we're not doing now?
Well, understand that the activities of these cartels is human trafficking, drugs, extortion. So they're doing all the things that terrorist organizations already do. By having them declared a terrorist organization, it activates certain powers that allows us to interdict what they're doing, even in Mexico. And so I don't think Mexico will disagree that the cartels are terrorist organizations because they're terrorizing their own people in addition to trying to influence and do things in the United States in a very significant way. So, again, it's a situation where Donald Trump sees a problem, and the best way to fix the problem is to attack the problem. I mean, there is so much fentanyl coming across. We had a situation here. I live in Southwest Florida. We had a situation a week or 2 weeks ago, that a package came from, in the United States Post Office, a package came from Puerto Rico to the United States, and there was enough fentanyl in the package to kill 500,000 people. And so when they're using the Postal Service and they're using other things, aircraft and everything else, to bring these illegal drugs or these MS-13 convicts into our country, by declaring them a terrorist organization, it gives the president and the United States government more power to interdict what's going on.
Well, I've often thought it was going to come to this. Let me ask you this. I think it's safe to assume that the Mexico government itself has a lot of elements of corruption in it, to where, I think the perception that the Mexican government would like to say is like, well, the cartels are doing their thing, and we're the Mexican government, we're different, we're trying to stop it all. Just seems like the whole country, though, is just a failed narco state, right?
Well, I think that there is a lot of infiltration into the government structure in Mexico of power and influence from the cartels. But I do believe that the Mexican president is committed to try and do something about the problem. But his deep state is causing problems for him too.
I got you.
Because they don't want to change the status quo. They're getting paid off, and they're getting very nice money. And so, but it's all about change. We talk about when Barack Obama ran for president, he told us that he was bringing hope and change. He didn't bring much change, and he didn't give us a lot of hope. Here we have Donald Trump, who's actually taking action to protect America and to build America and make America great and make America first. And that means that he's going to have to do things that our deep state is going to be opposed to, because it upsets the apple cart of the things that they put in place over the last 30, 40 years. And that's really the reason why they want to get rid of him, because he is a disruptor. He is an agent of change, and in the government bureaucracy. And I think that the Democrats didn't understand how good a service they did to the American people by showing the pettiness, the egotistical nature, the superior intellect nature of those people who came from the deep state, the career diplomats, the career bureaucrats. That to me hopefully brought to the American people an understanding that the deep state is not rhetoric. They actually exist, and we saw them in those hearings.
Hey, real quick, I got to ask you, Dan. I know with your energy experience, and we've never really talked about this on the program as much. Your direct ownership in oil, natural gas wells, that sort of thing.
Right.
But I see here the last couple of years you've actually been investing in compressed natural gas conversion of trucks away from diesel fuel. Tell me about that. Right, that's interesting. I'm not really paying attention to that industry shift.
Well, when you drive into your gas station and you look at the pump, you'll see what they call octane ratings, and you'll see 87, 89, 91, or 92. But if your gas station sells diesel, then on the diesel pump it'll say the octane rating is about 50. Okay.
Okay.
Now, if you take high sulfur crude and process it into diesel fuel, which is the lowest grade of refining, you have sulfur and you have other elements. The octane rating has a great impact on the fuel efficiency of the engine, and therefore its ability to pollute the air, even if it's highly tuned. And so when you've got 50 rated fuel, you're going to put hydrocarbons in the air. When natural gas comes out of the ground with nothing to it, its octane rating is 132.
Wow. Okay.
So if you put 132 octane rating fuel in a truck, a garbage truck, or a construction truck, the fuel efficiency is going to go up dramatically. The more efficient the engine burns, the less pollutants that it has. So here in Southwest Florida and other parts of the country, massive garbage truck fleets have been replaced by natural gas and compressed natural gas. And so that the fuel efficiency is incredibly high. The octane ratings are high. And they literally have in these facilities, they have a fueling station right on the property. Like they used to have fuel oil. Now they have natural gas pumped to them, and then they're compressed when they're put in the trucks.
Wow.
But it's a fuel that's highly efficient, and the wear and tear on a low efficiency 50 octane diesel fuel puts a lot of junk in the air, but it's very hard on the engine.
Wow.
When you use natural gas as a fuel for an engine, the engines run much more efficiently. You get much better mileage, and more efficient engines means less pollution. And less maintenance.
That's fascinating. I want to remind everybody that we started this segment talking about Alberta in Canada wanting to potentially break away, form their own nation. And I really like eclectic segments like this one, Dan Perkins. I appreciate you being on, and I wish you a happy Thanksgiving, sir.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
All righty.
I look forward to being on your show again.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Dan Perkins, everybody.